Hi, my name is Anselam. I'm a 16-year-old dual enrollment student for Seminole State College. Today, I have chosen the topic of social disorganization theory. I'm going to try to paraphrase an explanation to the best of my ability. The theory states that in neighborhoods and societies that do not seem to be in harmony, they will tend to have more fights and conflicts amongst those groups. Another easier way I can explain this is that people will fight more in communities and groups that are not in unison, and they are disorganized like the theory states. This can cause petty to severe criminals to be born. I'm going to try to answer 3 questions surrounding this topic. 1. Why does this happen? 2. Do I notice this in my own groups and communities? And 3. Is there a way to prevent this? Let's start with the first question. Why does this happen? This is a pretty straightforward question with a pretty straightforward answer. Some of the reasons I came up with after reading some of the books and studies is that if your community is not in unison, or like the theory states, disorganized, you can only expect bad things to come from that. The Office of Justice Program states, current versions of social disorganization theory assume that strong networks of social relationships prevent crime and delinquency. And I'm sure as anyone knows, whenever things are disorganized, bad things are soon to prosper. This might cause members of the community to grow hatred towards others, and this may result in crime. Another reason could be in the case of children growing up in disorganized and aggressive communities. They may not know anything better when they grow up, and this can cause them to be more crime prone. The Office of Justice Program also says that households that had only one parental figure, or even just one parent in general, tended to have more arrests for violent crimes than the traditional household with 2 parents. This can be caused by a lack of parental influence in the child at an early age. Let's move on to question number 2. Do I notice this in my own community? This is a very interesting question for me. My father is very detail-oriented, so I've never had to worry too much about moving to a bad neighborhood or a bad part of town, and I've never really experienced this problem myself. But also, I have never lived in a large city or a very big neighborhood. And according to the Office of Justice Programs, a majority of neighborhood aggression and disorganization mainly does come from cities or very large neighborhoods. Like at Chicago, New York, you see crime like that all the time. This makes it so that a majority of the time, I have not had many problems with my neighbors. But I have had a fair share of nasty groups and friend groups that have had tons of conflict and bickering, and can very well see how this can lead to lots of criminal activity if led to a neighborhood or city-wide scale. And the third question is there a way to prevent this? There are many ways, in my opinion, that you could potentially solve much, if not all conflict as a whole, in all types of groups. And I'll talk about some of these now. The first one is, just put others before yourself. What do I mean by this? Instead of just automatically brushing someone off and getting rid of their opinion, what if we all hear each other out? This has a good chance at stopping all conflict right whenever it's in its baby steps, instead of letting it escalate and getting to a bigger crime scale. And then also, a more realistic goal that anyone could put into their group is just be kind to people even if they're not. You would be surprised how many people just one person can inspire and motivate just by being kind to others. So in a situation where you're being scolded or you're being told rude comments towards you, just be kind to them. Give them a chance. And you can make a lasting impact on a person or even a whole group. Another way that things can be resolved is to hear the other side. They may have an opinion that might actually be right, and you're both just having a stupid argument. And even if you are in the right, don't think of yourself as more than the other. Just be fine with being wrong in small conflicts. And the final thing is, something I've learned over the years is that most big conflicts and friendship ruiners for a majority of the time start from small petty conflicts that has gotten way too far out of hand and just nobody wanted to be in the wrong. So that's a good way, in my opinion, that we can solve some of these conflicts. So I'd like to just summarize really quick just of what I've talked about. The first question is, why does this happen? And mainly the big majority of it is when communities are not unified. This is why crime starts more often in those sort of situations. Do I notice this in my own community and groups? Not really, but I can definitely understand it happening in many groups like that. And then, is there a way to prevent this? I would just like to quote one of Jesus's most famous sayings, love your neighbor as yourself. If we follow that, most of, if not all, conflicts can be resolved. Thank you very much for having your time. Bye.